July 25th, 2024. Um, I'm gonna get back more to my grand vision, Green Terra Myrrh. I I actually it is my intention to recruit working partners from like the homeless and special needs and this sort of a thing. My philosophy says that most people are wallowing in darkness of their own making. And I'm looking for rainbows in the dark. I'm looking for diamonds in the rough. An example is a homeless person. Um, that's where I want to get my workers from, really. And so we take on a homeless person as a client. We get them a home to live in. And yeah, we're for profit. We're not a charity. Um, but how can they pay, like, say, the rent, right? Well, we can give them work to do so they can earn their rent for the house that we own, or but we probably even built, because that takes me back to the Helen Home AI project. And we want to, real estate wise, we want to be into developing intended communities. So this person doesn't have a home, and we say, we can help with that. Compassion's all about support. And say, we'll put you in this house here, maybe a tiny house. We may have a development of tiny house, or there's a lot of motivations to own like mobile home parks and such. So we own manufactured homes in a park, and say, okay, we've got a room open here, let's put you in that room and get you to work, get you working. Now, the thing is, it's really pretty hard to help a homeless person. Um, Boy, they'll resist it tooth and nail. Why do you think they're homeless? They're stuck. They very likely have CPTSD. I have never met a homeless person that's not suffering from CPTSD and has their sob story. Uh, but it's really hard to break them out of their loop. They've got their little sob story of tragedy and what wrong's done to them, and their ego just won't let them get over it, and they loop it and they loop it. Now, it's often said that what you believe is just what you keep thinking. So they're wallowing in darkness, right? They keep putting themselves in darkness, freaking out about being in darkness, all this stuff. So you got to break that. This is just an example of one of the challenges. You got to break that loop, and bring the light, I guess you could say. I'm all about living in fun and joy, and that's what I want other people to do. A lot of people that have gotten that low, they can't allow themselves joy, and they can't allow themselves really to have fun, I think. And yeah, there's always the tragedy story, and as an empath, it really hurts me to hear their story. But those are the kind of people I want to help. And yeah, I'm thinking of this one guy I met up in Bellingham. I won't relate his tragedy story. It's pretty bad though. It involved a dog he loved, and I'm a dog person. So, but I'm looking for makers and stuff too. People that can make stuff, love to make stuff. And what he had as part of his story was some lady that owned a shop in Bellingham or whatever was paying him like $15 a unit or something to take these, like, jewelry boxes and stuff. And I guess he would put on sparkly, little fake gem thing. He'd pretty it up. He'd value added. He was adding value added. And then this lady had a shop and she was selling them in her shop. So to me, that's a maker. I would like to be in the position and say, hey, I can give you guys a home or at least a house, and I can give you work to do that it sounds like you'd probably like doing. Um, but yeah, I'm not going to ask him to make pretty little jewelry boxes or whatever, probably. But we would have a workshop that's supported and they could make things, inventions, whatever. I have a lot of ideas. In fact, the problem with a lot of the real world businesses I have in mind isn't that they wouldn't be really viable, maybe highly profitable. It's opportunity cost again. That's probably not what we want to spend our time doing. Again, unless there's a partner that's what they like to do. And a lot of this stuff can be integrated with like NFT minting and such. So yeah, and there's all kinds of markets. One of the markets I've always been interested in is what I'll call the elite market. Do you know what Rob Report is? Rob Report is a magazine for very rich people. You know, things like Bentleys and Rolls Royces might be advertised in it. Full page ads for very expensive watch status symbols, watches, highly trained security dogs, these kind of things. If you can tap into that level of market, then your profit margin can be very high because at some point it's no longer about getting the cheapest, getting the uh, you can get into selling status symbols basically, and then you can charge instead of like 1,000 or two, you charge 6,000, 10,000, 20,000. Because I think what a lot of very rich people like is status symbols where they're having like a party and what they bought is scarce, maybe even unique, and basically a was it. I'm big on was it's. And so they're having a party and they're trying to out status do their the very rich Joneses or whatever their friends. And so they can it can be a conversation piece, and they can always put in the jab of, "I bet you don't have one. I bet you'd like to have one. You can't have one because they're pretty darn scarce and expensive, but I've got one." That alone can be a value proposition. Branding, branding, you got to have the reputation. Yeah, this is a unicorn mint wind chime. Bet you don't have one. Bet you wish you had one. Bet my status in your eyes just went up because I have one. That kind of dynamics. Yeah, it can be done. I mean, it's a branding plan you'd have to stick to. And again, trust and authority. Never ever break that. Never be greedy enough that you think you're making enough money to break that. So, anywho, that's one way that things could go. I don't have an intention to break into that at this. Actually, my intention is to go the other route. I started off with a working number of like, or price of like $30 per NFT, but with the consideration of whimsical and casual purchases, I've gotten down more to like $3, $1, whatever. It's almost doesn't matter what we sell them for because it's a compounding monetization model. We just need to get our products into people's hands and have some schemes on how we're going to encourage them to buy and sell and utilize the assets we create. I mean, you can call them tokens, you can call them NFTs, you can call them smart agents, smart apps, smart contracts, D apps, what have you. But ultimately, it's about we're spinning straw into gold. We're creating assets, and we can take that as far or as low as we want. And at this point, that's the important thing is that we're minting assets and don't worry about the ROI, profitability, where it'll take us or whatever. We just need to start doing it so we have that expertise, so we have that experience, and wow, with that, we're empowered to go just about anywhere we want. So 11 minutes. I need to bounce this. There's a place up in Bellingham called Opportunity Council, and I'll talk about that next.